So, we've got about a 15 kilometre long strike length of the Barara Shear Zone, which is a major regional mineralised structure. At one end you got Barara and Golden Ridge, and then you got us, and then you got Paddington, and then it joins up and becomes the Bardock Shear Zone. So then you got Bardock, and you got Aphrodite, and you got Zoroastrian, and you got all these things that keep going up. We've got about 15 k's of strike of this, and really to date we've focused on about the central 5 k's, because that was what was available when we listed. That was the bit that was granted. But since then we've got the northern bit granted and we've got the southern bit granted. So there's another 4 or 5 kilometre strike length of this shear zone to the north that's mostly covered by sort of lake and stuff that, we can't wait to get the rig out there, because that's the same geology again as Marylebone and Paddington, same structures, and not a significant drill hole in it. So this is, I sort of kicked myself a bit that we could actually pick up a land position like this, and you could argue that you could float a company just on this by itself. There's plenty of companies in the goldfields that haven't got a land position like that, attracting high valuation. So I can see what I think it is, and I'm trying to get that across to investors that this is a great land position, great geology, we're getting results, and I think there will be a camp here. It's a matter of how big and how many deposits. So that's our challenge to do it, systematically, and it's making it hard when the assay turnarounds are taking so long. So,
but I think when we look at the historical data, I mean, we start off having a discussion about Runway, and the amount of intercepts that's there, that's got to be, I mean, that's sort of like, if it's that you have that there now, surely there's more along that whole shear, right?
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons that I think we're looking at a camp as well. So I've been in gold exploration for most of my 30 years as a geologist, and I worked in gold exploration teams in Western Mining with some really smart people, and we weren't just looking at stuff in the Eastern Goldfields or the Murchison. We were looking at stuff in the Abitibi in Canada. We were looking at stuff in West Africa, and comparing and contrasting these Archean greenstone gold deposits. So I picked up a lot of knowledge from really smart people in Western Mining over the time I was there, and one of the key signatures of a camp is that you get multiple deposits, different styles in different host rocks, right? So I guess the idea is that there's so much gold in the system that it can't just go to one rock type like a BIF or a dolerite. It ends up in a bit over here in a felsic volcanic, a bit in a BIF, a bit in a mafic. It's just, there's so much in the system. Now obviously we're 15 k's from Kalgoorlie.
I know.
Richest bloody patch of ground in the world, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of gold in the system here. But if you look at what we've got at Gidgee, we've got gold in mafic and ultramafic rocks at Marylebone. We've got gold in felsic volcanics at Blackfriars. Highway is probably going to be the same. Yeah. And then at Runway, you've got these sort of mafic and felsic porphyries, which Northern Star have got a resource on at Runway, 300,000 ounces, and that same unit continues onto our ground. Yeah. We've got gold in black shale at Piccadilly. So you've got gold in all these different rock types, and they're all different. To me, that's a sign that you've got a camp. Yeah. It's just a matter of working out how big it is, and we are doing the first systematic, effective exploration of the project, because all the previous drilling was angled, RAB, and didn't even get through the transported material. Yeah. And we're showing that by drilling next historical holes and getting 13 grams where they got nothing. So I'm really excited about the project. It's revealing itself sort of with each drill program, I'm convinced there's going to be a camp there. It's just a matter how big it is.
Yeah. I mean, you got neighbours around you, and you spoke about KCGM working at Runway.
Yep.
Are they active out there? I mean, you're active, but
they're very active at Runway. that there hasn't been much done there for a number of years, but in the last probably 6 months, they've kicked off a runway, and you know, they've got a diamond rig that's sitting about 20 metres off our tenement boundary, and they've been there for months. You know, so they're drilling, they're active. To put it in context, you know, about 20 metres off our tenement boundary, there's a number of holes, diamond holes, that were drilled to drill out this runway resource back in 2015, 16, I think it was, and then nothing really happened with it. There was one hole that was drilled like a couple of years later, and that was drilled down dip, and it got 280 metres at 1 gram, and that they drilled down this porphyry unit, and that's like 20 metres off our boundary. And so their rig at the moment is sitting right next to that hole, and they've been drilling, as I say, they've been drilling for months. So
for them to be there for months,
yeah,
there must be.
Well, it must be something there, right? But the thing is, it's Northern Star, so unless it's huge, they're not going to announce it. But just the simple fact that they're there and they're drilling tells us that there's something there. Now, we know there's something there because historical blocks look there, right?
Yeah,
and there's good hits there.
Yeah. And it's coming into your boundary.
Yeah, so the matter for us was, the issue for us was how deep it was and whether it would be economic for us. Now, we drilled, so when was it? Probably it was May, June last year. We drilled a couple of diamond holes on our side of the boundary, but they were about 100 metres, 150 metres away from the tenement boundary, because we thought there was a southerly plunge which would have made it a bit shallower on our side. Now, we hit all the right geology, and we got some visible gold and quartz veins and stuff, but when we actually hit the porphyry, there wasn't much in it. But we're sort of hearing that the drilling they're doing is a fair bit deeper. So the question for us is whether we sort of take the plunge and step out and go a bit deeper and try and replicate what they're seeing. But again, the question is whether it would be economic for us at that depth. If you hit even a very wide 1 gram hit, if it's at 400 metres below surface, you question whether it's economic or not, compared to Marylebone, where if you drilled out a 2, 3, 4 gram deposit like a Paddington below 40 metres of cover, well, that's economic. It's easily economic. So interestingly, one of the things that we did when we did the diamond drilling last year, we did an orientation IP line, induced potential polarisation. So, and that was basically along the tenement boundary, and that shows something at about 400 metres. So there is indications of something there.